Heather Duncan. I'm the artist with Duncan House Creative, and tonight I'm going to show you a tutorial on how to paint this wonderful, awesome liquid watercolor cactus. We're going to be using these liquid watercolors. They're not liquid watercolor concentrates. They're just regular liquid watercolors. Colorations is the brand of them. We're going to be using this PBO drawing gum marker. Everything will be linked below so you can check it out for yourself to get these really cool masked white lines. And then to get this really awesome effect on the watercolor, we're going to be using salt. It's a really cool technique to do when you want to add some texture to your painting. And I love how the salt reacts with the liquid watercolors. It really makes a more vibrant reaction as opposed to watercolors that are mixed with like a different medium, like solid watercolors or even watercolors in little pots. So I am excited to share this with you. I'm so glad you're here with me. Let's dive into our tutorial. To begin our project tonight, we are going to tape down our paper. If I can get this tape going. So it's essential that we tape down our paper when we're painting our whole page of watercolor. Because as the paint and the water hit the paper, it starts to really soak in that paint, and then it creates a problem where your paper is bowing on you. And when your paper bows up, it's just really hard to keep the paint where you want it to go. It'll start moving, and you don't want that. So you definitely want to tape your paper down. When you buy really expensive pads of watercolor paper, it will actually be sealed on all four sides. So this is something that typically most artists do when they're working with watercolors. They want to make sure they have a really flat surface to help with the integrity of their paper or their piece. Okay, let's actually first pause. We're going to go over our materials that you're going to need. You're going to need some paper, watercolor paper. You're going to need some washi tape or painter's tape or masking tape. I just wouldn't use Scotch tape. You're going to need some sort of palette for your liquid watercolors. You're going to need liquid watercolors. And today I'm working with Colorations as the brand of liquid watercolors. It's actually like a school brand or a child's brand, but I just love, in my time teaching art, I really tend to lean towards this brand because it reacts so well with the salt, and it's really easy to use. It's really easy to use watered down and to get different hues of color. So I actually adore this brand. So we're going to be using blue, red, and yellow, and then we're going to be mixing our own colors of green and orange. You need some table salt, a clean water well, a paintbrush, and then this is called a masking fluid marker. It's essentially like a paint pen, but instead of paint inside, we have masking fluid, which is almost like a rubber cement. It's tinted very lightly blue color so you can see it, but it will be difficult for you to see it actually on my screen. So I'm going to be using a pen to show you where I'm going to be drawing my lines. So I'll link all of these items below, but you can also find all these items in our liquids watercolor art box. Our art box for our liquid watercolors comes with all of these items for you to do this project at home. So if you're interested, check out the link in our description below, and you can visit our website and check that out. So, okay, let's go over the steps we're going to take. First, we're going to tape down our paper, which I already did, and then we're going to use our masking fluid marker to make the outline of our cactus. After that, we're going to color or paint in the cactus and sprinkle a little bit of salt, and then we're going to paint in our background and sprinkle a little bit of salt. It is a super simple project, so yeah, let's get started. First, I'm going to show you how to draw our cactus with my pen, because you're not going to be able to see on camera my masking fluid marker when I use it, because it's essentially clear, okay? So to do my cactus, it's very easy. We're just going to start with kind of a little loop, and this is called a paddle cactus. This is the traditional kind of cactus you think of in a supermarket. This is cactus that people will even eat, okay? And just as we go up, we get smaller. That's really the biggest part to this cactus, is that as you work your way up, you want your pieces to get smaller and smaller, okay? So I would say that that's good. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We have about 4 different sections of our cactus. I'll show this one. Oh wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one had 5. Yeah, let's do one more. I like that idea. Remember, when you're talking about design, you always want to work in numbers, odd numbers. So yeah, 5 works. So I'm gonna draw the same. Sorry, I keep moving that. I'm going to put that there. Gosh, can you even see it? I hope you can see it. But I'm going to put this to the side so I can draw it and you can see. So I'm just going to take my masking fluid marker, and if your marker isn't primed, you can kind of go to your washi tape and push up and down. And if you feel like it needs a little bit more liquid, you can always do that. So here's that, and I'm gonna do one more small one right there. So I have 5 going on. Oh, and then before I do that, I'm going to add some little dots on my cactus for the little thorns, pricklies. I don't know what you want to call them. I should probably learn the correct terminology, since I feel like I do a cactus almost every month for something. Maybe I really like cactuses. Cacti, sorry. Maybe I'm just drawn to them. I wonder what that says about me. So, okay, this really dries almost instantly. So we can put our drawing gum marker to the side, and let's mix up some of our paints. So we have some primary colors here, blue, red, and yellow. We're just gonna mix up some green, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna put a little bit of blue in, and you don't need a lot, so don't worry about getting too much. I'm gonna do a little bit of yellow here, and then I'm going to do a little bit of green, or a little bit of red, excuse me. And I'm gonna show you how to mix these. Ooh, if I don't spill them. There we go. Okay, what you're gonna do is we're gonna make some green. So I'm going to pull my yellow over first because I don't want my brush to get blue into my yellow. So I'm gonna start with my lightest color, and I'm just getting some on my brush and I'm bringing it over to the side like that. Okay, I guess I could have poured a little bit over there, but you know. And then I'm going to make this green by just adding a little bit of blue, okay? And I might even come over here and just test it on my paper. You know what? I kind of like that. I actually kind of like this color. Maybe just a little bit more yellow. And see there? I'm gonna move this over. There. I got some of that green in my yellow, like I said. Okay, and I'm just gonna bring this color down and paint this with a pretty liberal application of this green. I want it to be pretty wet. Okay, we always want our brush to be pretty wet with watercolor. We never want to hear like scratchy noises or anything like that. We always want it to be pretty wet. Now, I'm going to even take a little bit of blue and just kind of come around the rim of this because I like a cool color cactus. I'm gonna kind of do this just to kind of add some different definition to my cactus, okay? And you want to blend that. You want to make sure you don't have like a blue line in your cactus. You want to make sure it's nice and blended. And I might paint this other one because this is pretty wet down here. Paint this other one real quick. I don't want that one to dry. I want to try to do this fast. And then we're going to add our salt, okay? So here's this. I'm going to pick up a little bit of blue, like I said. And what's going to happen when we add the salt, these colors are going to change dramatically. Just wait and you'll see. Okay, I'm going to rinse my brush off, dry it off there, and then I'm gonna pour just a little bit of salt. This is kosher salt, but this is coarse kosher salt, but you can use table salt. You don't have to use coarse salt. It's just what I have for this. And I'm just gonna sprinkle several little pieces of salt on here and just watch what happens. That salt is going to start drawing that liquid, leaving a really different color of pigment. It's actually really intense. Very, very, very cool. If I had a more fancy setup, I would like show you a time lapse or something super up close, but unfortunately, that's not in the budget yet. So anyways, just wait till you see it. It's really cool. Okay, we're gonna let that start soaking. We're going to move, it's gonna take a while. We're going to move on to the next part of our cactus. Paint this green. Want that to be pretty wet. Put some blue up there. Oh, what a gorgeous color. I love that. And I'm gonna sprinkle just a little bit of salt on there. Maybe just a little bit more. And then the same over here. Green. And you can see how that masking fluid really causes a resist and doesn't let the paint interfere. And you know, I might even come down here and add some liquid and add just a little bit more salt down here to the bottom. There's that. And if you, I used to live in Oklahoma. Now my family lives in DC, so it's a little bit different here. But when we lived in Oklahoma, I liked to go to this grocery store that was near my house, and it was actually a Hispanic grocery store. And there would actually be a man there harvesting cactus. He would have this giant mound of cactus, and he'd be cutting it and all this, and you could actually buy fresh cactus to cook and eat. I did not buy the fresh cactus to cook and eat because I didn't know how to cook it or eat it, but I always found it so fascinating. And it was these types of cactuses that he was cacti, that he was cutting up. It's kind of cool. It's a fun memory that I have of cactus. So, okay, I'm gonna go on to my background now. So for the background, I'm gonna make sure my brush is really good and clean. So to do that, I just kind of rinse it off and then tap it on this paper, okay, the paper towel. I might even fold that over a little bit. Now, what I'm gonna do, and you guys, just in the like 5 minutes since we applied the salt, look at how it has drawn the pigment of this cactus. It's just, it really is incredible. This is why I love this liquid watercolor brand. It just reacts so fun with the salt. So I really want more of a pink background, not a red background. So I'm going, and see, when I put this on here, it's pretty red. So I'm going to really water this down. I'm going to use a lot more water than I am paint. Okay, so did you see that? I put on the red paint, and then now I'm just using water to spread this paint out. I'm really just using water here and making sure that this is super nice and moist. Now, sometimes I like to go in here with some yellow and add just some touches to make it orange. But I want to make sure that I'm not losing that pink background, because the red is complementary to the green. The warm colors, which is the red, are complementary to the cool colors, which are the green and blue that we used here. And I'm just going to I painted that one little area, and I'm just going to add a couple little sprigs of salt. And because my pieces of salt are so large, you don't need a lot of them, okay? And then I'm just gonna do the same over here. I'm gonna add this down and just use water to add to that. Yeah, and I just come to the edge of that masking fluid and just try not to come over that. And then I might take some salt, and just as I go, I'm sprinkling salt on, okay? Cool. Okay, I'm gonna reactivate that. And that's the great thing about watercolors, is you can kind of reactivate the paint with water. That's the difference between watercolor and acrylic, is being able to reactivate the color using water. Once acrylic is on, it's on. You can't reactivate that. You can paint over it, which is great, because sometimes with watercolor you can't paint over something. I'm just going to bring this down, do this. There. Really trying to lean into that pink. Now if you're like, hey Heather, I really like the red, go ahead, lean into the red. That's fine. You don't have to do what I'm doing. I always say that, but what I'm doing is just a suggestion. If you really feel like doing purple on your background or doing blue, go for it. You know, if you're like, listen, I'm doing this for my bathroom, which is green and blue, go for it. Do that. I don't care. My stuff is just a suggestion. Okay, so I'm putting some salt on here. And what happens with that salt is, like I said, it draws the pigment together and it really concentrates the pigment in certain places. And then it kind of sucks up the water to the liquid, leaving these circles. Let me dry my brush off. I'm gonna show you through this camera up here. These little kind of circles and stuff around the salt, where you can see the salt just really kind of sucked that up. Okay, and we still have a lot of drying to do here, but we'll see what this looks like. Okay, as this dries, I want to tell you one thing. Look what I did. I did the same thing on a little greeting card. Isn't it so cute? I know. I wanted to show you other ways that you can do this, because you're going to have a lot of paint left over, especially if you got our art box. You're going to have a lot of paint left over. So I want to show you like what you can do. You're going to have this drawing gum marker left over too. So what I essentially did was I just took my washi tape and I taped around it, and I just did some small cactuses or cacti here on the card, okay? And I painted it, and I added salt, the exact same thing that we're doing here. You could even, if you wanted to, do it up and down, you know, vertically instead of horizontally. And this would make the cutest little birthday card or something like that, or just a I'm thinking of you card. I got these cards at Michael's, and just, you could get them at Hobby Lobby if you have a Hobby Lobby near you. I don't. We just have Michael's over here on the East Coast. There is a Hobby Lobby, but it's farther away than Michael's. But I just thought that this was a great little project that you could totally do. And you could work, I know some artists work in batches. They call it like batch painting, where they tape down like 6 different cards, they draw the cacti, and then they paint, and then they salt, and then they paint, and then they salt, okay? So you wouldn't have to sit down and do one at a time. You could do this on a larger scale if you wanted to, okay? So, just an idea. I thought it was so cute. Okay, we're gonna let this dry, and then I'm gonna come back for the big reveal. So I'm going to take my paint and put it to the side because I don't want to knock it over. So as your composition is drying, you might want to clean up your area, okay? Because you don't want to be taking things off and then, you know, hitting the paint and dumping it. I'm just gonna fold this over so I'm not getting excess paint on here, and I'm just, oh man, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I was going to rub this tape, or this salt off. Sometimes the salt is still wet even though the paper around it is dry, so I'm just kind of doing that so I don't get the green in my red. You might want to make sure that this is really good and dry before you do this, okay? Not like me. Do as I say, not as I do, as my dad used to say. Anyone else's parents say that when they were little? Just mine. Okay, so I'm taking the salt off. Might even do that. Just try not to get that. Okay. And don't, just in case you need to be told this, don't reuse the salt. Please throw it in the trash can. It's not something that you should probably be eating. Yes. All right, after you get all the salt off, you're going to rub off the masking fluid with your finger, okay? And you're just gonna come in here and you're gonna take the ball of your finger, that's this part right here, and you're just going to rub this blue kind of film off, and you'll see it leaves this beautiful white space beneath it. Really cute. It's magic. And sometimes people leave that blue fluid because they can't see it. So be sure you take that blue masking fluid off. Okay, and don't rub too harshly. And honestly, if you have a lot of patience, you might wait a whole 24 hours before you take this stuff off, okay? Because sometimes it does, when your paper is moist, it will lift up the paint around it. You don't want that. You just worked really hard on this. See, like right there, it kind of did that. So maybe when you're doing like your cards or something like that, you want to pay a little bit more attention to it. Oh, this is awesome. This looks so good. I always, always, always love what the salt does to the paint. This one almost looks tie-dye. So cool. Okay, now I'm going to lift up the, let's see, washi tape. There. I'm just going to pull that back. This is the big reveal. So cool, so satisfying. And I'm going to show you the finished product. Look at it. This is what we painted together. Looks so good. Ugh, I love the background. Just almost looks like a sunset, right? And then the cactus with the texture and then the dots and stuff. It really has a lot of depth. I love it. I want to show you the one that I did previously so you can just see a difference. Every time you do these, they're gonna look different. It's really fascinating to me to see the difference in all of them every time I do it. So you should have an extra piece of paper in your box too, so choose one of these that you want to do again, or give one as a gift, you know, give one as a gift. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I had so much fun with you. Please share. Here's my card. Will you please share your work with me? You can hashtag us, Duncan House Creative. You can add us on Facebook or on Instagram. I want to see what you're doing. That's the hardest part of this, is being on this side of the camera. I always just wish I was with you painting. I know. I hope you feel that we're together a little bit. I hate that COVID has made it to where we have to be apart, but I am so thankful that you shared the space with me today. And I really hope it was something that you enjoyed. All right, we will see you next time.